Well, we've had two, pretty good days of practice, and really players have worked hard, and I think that everybody needs to understand the importance of when you play on the road, paying attention to detail, staying focused, not being affected by external factors. It takes a little maturity, leadership of older players affecting younger players to do the same, and very positive in how you got to approach what you do when you play on the road. Their team is probably one of the tougher, direct, downhill, running, two-back. We haven't seen that this year. They're physical. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and you got to beat them. And defensively, they play the same way. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They play a lot of guys up in the box. They're pretty good in block protection and play a lot of man-to-man type of stuff, and receivers got to be able to get away from them. And they've done a really nice job on special teams. They've got two really good skill guys, one good punt returner, and a very, very good kickoff return guy. So a lot of challenges on special teams as well. For our team, we've given lots of guys opportunities, this week at linebacker, and we'll continue to do that. And we really don't have anything specific to report right now. Obviously, Corey Reamer's got the most experience and probably the most knowledge, at this point, to be able to go in and play that position. And but that decision has not been made. However, Dante's surgery went well. Talked to Doc about it, and he thinks that he'll have a full recovery. And Nick Gentry has the flu, and he's had it for a couple days and missed a couple days of practice. So that's really pretty much it right now for the injuries. Well, we actually played, two-thirds of the game last week with the guys in those positions, and and to me that's harder to do than when you get all the reps, because if a guy gets all the reps in practice, he's much more prepared to do it in a game. I mean, Reamer had very few reps playing inside linebacker. Had a few reps playing nickel. Because of his other roles that he plays on the team, and that's what he's practicing. But we always discuss before the game how we would, if something happened to certain players, who would play and what we would do. And the players know that, and they're prepared for it. And so there was no question about what we would do in a game. And it's probably the best thing for us to do right now in the short term, to continue to do it that way. So that's my feeling, but that decision has not been made yet.
Before we heard about Nick, we hadn't heard much about the flu recently. Had it started the trial off with the team?
Well, we got one guy that has it. I don't know if
it hasn't been an issue.
It seemed to have gone away, pretty good. We didn't have many guys sick last week. Drew Davis was a little bit sick, but he really didn't have the flu. We've had a couple guys that get the upper respiratory part of it without a fever, but they kind of come back a little more quickly and respond better to medication. But when the guys get the flu, they're usually about 3 days. So I thought we were kind of over that, but I think I was being a little too optimistic.
Coach, this is kind of off subject, but it seems like every game I've been watching this year, Alabama and others, there's a lot of helmets that are coming off players. Any theories why?
No, I noticed the same thing. I think there probably ought to be something done relative to some investigation relative to player safety. And I think there's a lot of people that look into those types of things, whether it's rules or equipment for player safety, and I certainly think that is an issue that should be addressed, because I see it happening a lot as well.
Coach, obviously you saw something you liked out of Nico Johnson to have played him to this point. How has he progressed so far, and would it be an option to move somebody possibly from Mike to Will, like a Chris Jordan, if that was needed?
Well, we didn't do that, so it's always an option, but we really didn't do that. And Nico has played Mike and Will, which for a young guy probably is a little bit of a burden. But you know, those guys are young guys and they're learning and they make mistakes every day, but as long as they're making progress, we're pleased and happy with their progress. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is could they go in and execute well enough knowledge-wise to be able to get it done. I think they're all going to be good football players, but I think they got to be ready to play. And we played a freshman linebacker 2 years in a row. I mean, Rowe played when he was a freshman. Dante played all year last year when he was a freshman. So it's not that we wouldn't play a freshman. That's not, but those guys kind of got it, and they were ready to play. And really don't want to play guys if they're not confident in what they're supposed to do and how to do it and get enough reps at doing it. And we need to continue to bring those guys along.
Coach Saban, there's a term, I guess, called a trap game, the implication being that some sort of circumstances, place on the schedule, psych, external factors that can affect the outcome of a game. Do you have any feelings about that being true or subscribe to it?
I don't even know what you're talking about. You're talking
Never
about
heard of a trap game?
Never heard of a trap game. Explain it to me, and I'll give you my feelings on it.
I think it's a maybe TV announcer made up name, but I think the way I get it is the implication being that a stronger team can find itself in a situation that playing a game in which it's expected to win, expectations, but that the circumstances can make it a difficult game for them to win. But you've never heard of it, then it doesn't mean anything.
But, you know, I really think that you control what you do, and I think our players control what they do. So if we're in a trap game, it's because our head's in a trap, and we're putting it in a trap. And we're not performing well, we don't prepare well, we're not ready to play. Mentally, emotionally, don't have the intensity, the sense of urgency, the discipline to execute, you know, sort of the mental energy you need to be a good competitor. And that's when other people can take advantage of you. And I think that there's probably nobody that we play that could beat us. Everybody that we play could beat us. And on the other hand, there's nobody that we play that could beat us, just depending on us. So, you know, I think that I guess what you're talking about is it's like the analogy I use when you used to play at Notre Dame. You know, the Gipper talks to the team the night before, so therefore you're supposed to lose. If they wear their green jerseys, you're supposed to lose. If, you know, touchdown Jesus is doing so, you know, feels a certain way, you're supposed to lose. But that only affects you if it affects you. If you think that. You know, we won a few games at Notre Dame, so that didn't really affect us. Is that what you're talking about? Trap game? So if I went and told the players this is a trap game and they started believing it was a trap game, then we'd be in a trap. But I'd rather them believe that if they go do what they're supposed to do, they'll have the best chance to be successful. And that just didn't start when you show up for the game. That starts when you practice every day, when you prepare. And I think that consistency is one of the most difficult things to do from a human nature standpoint. And I think it takes something special to be able to do that. And it's a challenge to get it done with your team every week, but that's our challenge, and that's what we try to do.
When you were at LSU, you were on the NCAA Rules Committee. How much was tweaking the blocking below the waist rule discussed then, and are you a proponent for tweaking it now? Well,
I think that, you know, there's always been a lot of discussion about cut blocking. We have a cut block rule, but it only really affects a guy if he's engaged with another player. and then gets cut, which is extremely dangerous. I think, I have mixed emotions about it. Cut blocking has been a part of the game for a long time. A lot of players get hurt because of cut blocking. I don't think there's any question about that. But I also feel that every player has a responsibility to play the cut blocks. You need to coach and play the blocks properly so that you minimize your chances of being injured by getting cut. And it's always my opinion, and I tell the players this, that when a guy cuts you and he's in front of you and you can see him, that should never be an issue, because you should address and play that block in a certain way. And was the situation with Dante. I don't know if he saw the guy, but the guy was in front of him. He should have looked at the blocker and used his hands and tried to play the block. It's a part of the game. I don't know how adversely it would affect offensive football if you couldn't cut. I think it would to some degree. It would certainly be much harder to make certain blocks. And it would be there would be much more inertia created by defensive players running into blockers, because they wouldn't have to play under control if a guy was coming to block them. I mean, they could just go blow them up. So that might create some other problems in another direction. So I understand the issue. I don't know how you correct it without really making sort of a huge impact on the effect of the game it would have on the game.
Coach, I asked you about PJ earlier in the week, but what I would like to ask now is, what do you attribute his improvement to? What is he doing better or more consistently, or what?
He just, I think PJ has worked hard, really hard. I think he's gotten stronger, but I think he's improved the consistency of his technique. Swinging your leg and dropping the ball inside, hitting across the ball and dropping the ball inside are probably the two most common things that create problems for punters. So you drop it inside, you're chasing it inside where you're not extending and kicking it like you need to. But I think that, PJ has worked hard to improve his technique, and his consistency has improved dramatically. But it improved each year. He improved a lot last year from year one, and he's improved just as much from last year to this year. So he's never been satisfied, and he continues to work hard, and he has made tremendous improvement. And I think he's only had one punt all year that I would sort of say that wasn't a really good punt. He's done a good job, and good hang time and good direction, and it's helped our net punt.